The Guardians' lead on first place is a little bit more tenuous after a rough weekend in Seattle. We got 3 games to talk about, some Owen Miller to discuss, and what's on deck, as this schedule does not really let up, but for a few times till the end of the season, on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Guardians. I am your host, Jeff Ellis, formerly of Scout, formerly of 24/7, now all of Locked On. Want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. So let's get into Owen Miller before we get into games, because for the most part, people agreed with me, though I do had, I love you to death, Avery. Do not take this as a slam. Avery and I have gotten into it multiple times on Owen Miller. And here's the thing about Owen Miller. Outs above average, which I quote often on this from Baseball Savant, is really the only source piece that has him as a positive defender. And if you dig into the numbers there, it's his lateral towards third base. He's +2 compared to the field. Lateral towards first, he's a 1. Going back, he's a 1. Going in, he's a negative. He's not good going in, and that's universal. He can't get in at any position he's played. Now, him being a former infielder playing first, he has more range. And essentially, that is what is giving him a positive of outs above average. He has a negative WAR by Baseball Reference. He has a negative value in Fangraphs. And okay, this is the time I'll really dig into the weeds. I used to write a series on Ultimate Zone Rating. And Ultimate Zone Rating was one of those defensive things that have been out there. We've been trying to quantify and failing to quantify defense, if I'm being honest. It's still probably best by the eye test, maybe the one area that still is. But the thing with user is you wanted 3 years of data. You can't do like 1 year. You can't do 500 innings this year. You have to do 3 years of data to really get anything useful from it. And that means we have to put both of his years of data together at first base, and he'd have a negative value. Same thing if you use the DRS, defensive run saves. I don't see a lot of people use this anymore. A lot of the Bill James stuff is actually like, Bill James built this, and first level of a pedestal, and now everything's gone up. But he has a negative value for his career so far as well, and that's another one that is most defensive. Those early ones like user, like DRS, you need 3 years of data. You need multiple years of data for them to really be predictive. So if you're only using partial data, it's not going to show. Again, the things like the Baseball Reference defensive value, Fangraphs, defensive value, all have him as a negative this year. And I think with our eyes, we see that. And let's be honest, he didn't cost them Sunday's game. He didn't help. I mean, he hurt Aaron Savale significantly multiple times in that 7th inning. If you missed it, one, he probably should have been the guy to cover first. Like, that's the thing. You don't have the pitcher cover. You get back. And it gets drilled into you. And then the dropped foul ball, which then immediately afterwards they hit a 3-run home run, he caught on the wrong part of his glove. And I understand he's falling backwards. It's not an easy situation. And that additional range is maybe the only reason he can get there. But you got to... I don't know how many times I've seen him drop a ball this year because he doesn't catch it on the right part of his glove. Am I crazy? Please let me know. Hit me up on my Twitter at JeffMLBDraft. Am I crazy, or does it feel like he does not know how to use his glove properly? That he is always miscatching balls, and it's one of those things. Yeah, he's playing out of position. He hasn't played a lot of first base in his career. He played a little bit last year. He didn't play a ton in the minors, but like catching a pop-up is catching a pop-up. It doesn't really change. Is it a laziness? I'm not sure what the issue is, but yeah, he's just, let's see, in the minors, he had all of 8 games at first base, and then so far in the majors, he's up to 83 games at first. It's the most innings he's had at the major league levels at first base. So I just kind of look at that, and I get it, but like, it's first base. And I've gotten into this with a few other people. I'm like, Terry Francona throws Ernie Clement in the outfield, which he had almost never played. He throws Mike Freeman and Michael Martinez out in the out. Like, outfield is harder to get than first base. You would think someone can handle that position. I thought part of the whole point of calling up Will Benson was like, well, he can play some first. And I get it. You don't want to send him out with his struggles right now against a lefty today. But at the same time, you don't want to throw out Owen Miller against a lefty. And I think one could make a very strong case that Cleveland, let's say I was just kind of curious, like all the talk about Will Benson and playing first and how he's going to play first in that first call-up game. If he hasn't played one game at first since he's been called up, not one inning. But to get back to the point, it's like you almost have to get rid of Owen Miller because Tito doesn't know how to properly use him. He's got since May 1st, he was on fire to start the year. He's got a 59 runs created plus. A 59. Like that is, he's been one of the worst hitters in baseball since May 1st. He's not Miles Straw, but he's not far away. We're talking about two of the 10 worst hitters in baseball. And if you just look at it by month, 228 for March and April, 60, 43, 84 in July, 53. He's at a 50 runs created plus in the second half. He's been bad. And then you go back into it, his runs created plus, which again, my bad, I sometimes forget, I need to explain this. It is just a metric that takes all the offensive production and 100 is average. And then you go 10 points higher, that's about, a derivation higher, 10 percentage points higher. So it shows how productive. This is saying that he has been about, 5 derivations, 50% less productive as a hitter. And then here's why you almost have to take him off the roster. Against righties, he has a 91. So he's almost in that average range because it's probably about to 95 to 105 is more average. He's slightly below average against right-handers. Against lefties, he's a 60. He has a reverse platoon split, which is the same thing with Miles Straw, and this team refuses to recognize that. So we keep seeing Owen Miller and his platoon partner. It's who's sitting down? It seems more like, oh, we got to put him in against a righty because Naylor is still in these games. It's not like he is not playing in these games that they lose against a lefty, but it's the weirdest thing to see how they choose to deploy players in these games. For a long time, it was Andres who wasn't playing because it was a lefty, Jimenez. And then today, let's see, who was missing from the normal lineup because we had, but that's just the thing. They essentially have an open DH now because Palacios is, part of that rotation. They need Franmil Reyes. That's what they need. Let's be perfectly honest. They need Franmil Reyes, who, I don't know if anyone saw the Anthony Castro, I'm going to butcher his name. He used to cover the Guardians. Back then, the Indians. But, you go and you look at, he was shagging balls at third base today before the game. I tweeted that out. Like, he was sitting back and doing that just as, in case they needed him. He was going to go out and play that. He has continued to be, better. He's not necessarily great, but he's a league average bat for Chicago. And boy, could we use league average right now if you are a fan of the Guardians. This year, let's see. I forgot he pitched for Chicago this year. I mean, he's mostly just been a DH or an outfielder for them, but he's been league average. Cleveland can't even say that. They have not had, he's been entirely a DH for them. But he was so poor, and he leaves here and goes to Chicago and immediately is back to being average. Not, where he was, where he's a 116, a 125. He was typically close to 120, about 2 derivations above league average, about 20% better than most hitters. Now he's just about average, but boy, would average look good right now on this Guardians team. And Owen Miller might be a great dude. I think in the right situation, he could be useful on this team. But it's the same problem they had with Ernie Clement, where it's the overuse. Or in Miller's case, using him incorrectly. Like, if you want him to go out and play, and it's kind of the problem, right? Like, Palacios he's left-handed as well, right? I'm kind of blanking here, but Jones and Benson and those guys are left-handed, so you want them to face the righties. So then Miller's going to play against the lefties because he's right-handed, but he's not good against the lefties. He's good against the righties. This is why Connor Joe would have made so much sense, to throw back to my episode about trading for him. They need someone like that. They need a Luplo. They need a Connor Joe. They need their Brandon Guyer. They need a platoon partner, if this is what they're going to go for, that actually works as a platoon partner. We're going to take a break, come back, and discuss the MLB standings as well as this really annoying series against Seattle. Not just because they lost, but annoying for a lot of reasons. Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst thing that could happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong! The truth is your reaction times slow down when you're high. You're not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, don't get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. So why were these games annoying? Because like, if you were like me and you watched I actually like the Apple TV broadcast. Okay, I'm gonna flex. I pay for Apple TV. That's right, big time flex there. But it was an annoying game because just it went to the 11th. But man, as I was sitting there at home, I was kind of like, did this go 15? Like it just felt like it kept going. I had no confidence. And the annoying thing with this game, we'll start here, is what they had base runners in like the 9th, the 10th, the 11th. They kept getting a chance to pull ahead and then just couldn't do anything. You get your base runners on and then, nothing happens. And, I mean, even when Seattle ties it up in the 7th late. And there's that part of me that with Stephen Kwan where I'm like, dude, don't make that diving catch. That was an amazing catch, but if you get hurt, the season is done. They can't afford to lose any of their central pieces. Plus, if you want to get just a little bit into the weeds on it, that allowed the base runner to advance, which then allowed the sac fly to get the run home. I'm not putting that on him more than anything else. I'm just worried about his health. But yeah, so if I go there in the 9th, they get the double. Then it's a ground out, fly out, pop out. And by the way, the ground out advanced Andres Jimenez to third base with 1 out. Freeman flies out, doesn't get it deep enough. Palacios pops out, nothing to show for it in the 9th. In the 10th, you already have the base runner on. Miles Straw, I don't know what to do. Like he needs a break. It's kind of crazy because you think about Straw and Franmil. And I'm sad no one commented on my Freaky Friday theory. Thanks a lot, people. I thought it was being funny there. But to get back to it, it's what's going down? Like you have all these advanced approaches. You have all the great new hitting people. How can they not help these guys get out of their funks? Why is it like the minute Franmil leaves, he's average? Why is it Straw is putting up one of the all-time bad seasons in MLB history? He's not an all-time bad guy. We have the data to show it. But I don't know. He has got to be a mess mentally. Like, there's no way around it. He has got to be a mess mentally because he is just not the same hitter he has been in terms of how he approaches the plate and in hitting in general. But you get the out from him, almost an automatic at this point, which I hate to say it as a defender of Miles Straw to the hilt, but he's historically awful right now. Then you get the walk, and then, of course, Ahmed grounds into a double play. Two of my tweets from that night where it feels like Jose Ramirez leads the league in pop-ups, and then a Detroit guy, Chris Brown, from does a lot of Detroit writing, great dude, and very good if you want Tigers information. He's like, he does, and he pulled up the baseball cement data, and I'm like, no, that feels right. Because was that when the Guardians got the tying run across? I can't remember. I feel like it was in this game where, I made that comment, and then the pop-up got dropped by the catcher, and it said he got the sac fly to get the run across. The other one was it feels like Rosario leads the league in grounding into double plays. And listen, Ahmed is struggling with runners in scoring position. I don't know if it's improved, but for a time he had a negative value. If you look at his split data with like high leverage situations, he is not the guy. Jimenez is the guy you want up there, and I understand there's changes to that. There's been ups and downs with it, but yeah, in a high leverage situation, Ahmed has a 49 runs created plus. It's not good. He has, for whatever reason, really struggled. Men on base, he is fine. Base is empty. Men in scoring position, situational. Well, this is interesting. This is different. But the high leverage has not been great for him. But yeah, he just always seems to hit into double plays. And it's a little bit infuriating just because there's so many double plays. I mean, he's hit 15 with men in scoring position and or men on base. Like, because you have to have men on base. So he has hit into 18 double plays, and that is a lot. He is hit into so many double plays this year. And then, if I look at the advanced data, just in my head, no, he's still puttering around. So it's interesting. June was great. July was still strong. And then August, it's been a little bit of a step down the ladder since his struggles in March and April. And then even a bit in May. So we'll have to see. He's not quite as scorching hot as where he was. Right now for the season, his runs created plus is it in like his typical, 108. So close to, a little high, but still his typical range. But yeah, the ground into the double play there. And then you go to the 11th. They intentionally walk Jose Ramirez. So you got men on first and second. The first out advances Rosario to third. So then you got men on first and third. And you have Jimenez up, who's perfect, right? He is the guy you want up in that situation. No, fielder's choice out. They get, and it's, thank you, Carlos Santana, for being aware. Santana throws home, gets you out at home. Because he's a good defender at first. Right now, if money was equal, Santana is not having a good offensive year, and I bet his stats aren't necessarily great, but I would certainly take Santana over Owen Miller. And I say that knowing that he's probably got like a 70 runs created plus this year, if I am correct. Let's see. It is over combined numbers. He's in a 98. See? Now I'd definitely take him over Owen Miller right now. His defensive run save isn't there, but that was one of those smart plays. Like, I don't think Owen Miller's going to make that throw to home to get that out. But then Oscar Gonzalez walks and you get the bases loaded. And, Ty Freeman had a big double in like the 7th or 8th after some, he had 2 or 3 errors in this game. 2 errors in this game. Leaving him in that situation, I don't know if that's what I would have done. Like, especially because you got a righty pitching in Penn Murphy, who I should double check. I believe he was a righty. Like, go get one of your $1.5 million lefties, right? Go get those guys. And here's part of the problem. When you pinch run Naylor for Owen Miller, you don't really have anyone else. Like, who's going to take over on that infield for them? Yeah, Murphy's a righty, but it's like, who's going to play? I guess they really don't have a choice. You have to let Freeman go out and hit with the bases loaded. But, yeah, because you don't have... Because Palacio said pinch hit early in the game, even if you're on... They were out of guys, and that's really like... Maybe pinch running wasn't the right call. Like, maybe that's not the time to go get the pinch runner. See how it... I don't know. It's a hard situation to really second guess, but yeah. This game just kept going. It was nearly 2 in the morning my time, so it was nearly 3 in the morning for you people in Cleveland when it finally ended. I don't believe I was watching it on a slight delay. Sometimes I do that, but it was just an absolutely infuriating one because you had the pitching. Bieber was fantastic in this one. 7 innings, 2 runs, only 1 earned, 9 strikeouts, 5 hits, the 2 errors by Freeman. You could say, like I said, Owen Miller, you couldn't say cost them the game because they couldn't do anything offensively. You can make a case that Freeman cost them this game with the defensive miscues. Yes, he also had a double. It was also interesting, like Austin Hedges had 2 hits, Ahmed Rosario had 2 hits, Stephen Kwan reached base twice, and I think that's it. But Freeman had a double, but there just wasn't enough to cancel out the negativity. You had the intentional walk to Jose in this one, so he reached base. He would have reached, I already said. So yeah, the top of the lineup at least reached base twice, and you had Hedges there. And then the bottom was not so much. Your box score bingo, 8 hits by Cleveland with 3 walks, an intentional walk. That's 12 base runners. That should be about 4 runs. They had 2. Right? They just couldn't. They kept abandoning dudes at third. Like I said, 3 innings in a row. They left a runner at third base. You're gonna lose. Like it felt like we just kept waiting for. And Mitch Haniger was just a killer in this one. But we kept. I don't know. It felt like they weren't going to get it. It was one of those games. The longer you watch, the more. I'm sorry, they had 9 hits. Like I said, 8. Did the wrong side of the box score, so that's 9 hits. 3 walks is 12, so 13. Yeah, 4 should have had about 4 runs. And again, because they also had what 1, 2, 3, 4 extra base hits. They should definitely have had 4 runs. They had 2. Just kept leaving guys on base. Other side of things, 8 hits, 2 walks, 1 intentional walk, I believe, for them as well. That is 11 base runners. That should be 3 to 4 runs. They got 3. The other thing in this, like Trevor Stephan was not necessarily at his sharpest, but he didn't, give up any runs or anything. He got through when it was not working for him. They go get Sandlin, and he continues to be nails. He has been so good since his return. Clase gets the loss because he gives up a hit that scores the run like the first guy he faces. you feel good with Casa in. I know there's going to be people being like, see, this is what happens when you use your closer in a non-safe situation. I would just say calm down. He's still one of the best relievers in baseball. 3 stars, I think you have to say Bieber gets it. And then after that, like, who do you give it to offensively? I say Hedges for 2 hits, and one of them being an extra base hit. And, you know, I would look at Ahmed, but, man, he also had the killer with that grounded in double play. I might give it to Sandlin. He came into a tough situation and recorded the outs. I mean, that was just a knuckle down, but that's the thing. These are 2 of the best bullpens in baseball, and we saw it in this one. Unfortunately, for Cleveland, it's a loss. And we're going to take a break, come back, and talk about the win, try to end some positive, and we'll get into a little bit of Sunday's game. We already kind of talked about it, but we'll discuss the 3 stars of that one, as well as the box score bingo on today's Locked On Guardians. Okay, let's close out. I stayed up late watching it. It was just painful to watch that game unfold. Let's very quickly, we're going to go back and talk about this loss on Sunday, and then we'll end with the win. So over the course of this, the Twins are now on a 3-game winning streak. Let's also handle this because I do want to end positively. It's not been a positive weekend, so let's end with the positive. Cleveland has a 2-game lead on the Twins. The Twins have a 3-game win streak. Cleveland would be, I believe, 2 games out of the wild card, so you really need to win the Central at this point in time. Right now, Tampa is up 1.5. Then Seattle, Toronto is on a 3-game losing streak. So Baltimore, who's the next team up, 1.5 games back. We will talk about tomorrow's game. I don't think we have they have an off day tomorrow. Watch me be totally wrong in that. But I do not believe there's an off day for Cleveland tomorrow. I believe it is right into the Baltimore series. No, it is a Monday off day. That's right. It's back-to-back off days on Monday. So tomorrow we're going to focus in and talk about Baltimore, because we haven't talked about them in a while. Remember when we lost those games to Baltimore last time they faced? And everyone's like, you can't lose to Baltimore. Well, Baltimore's a playoff contender now. So we'll talk about Baltimore tomorrow on the show. Quickly, in this game, who reached base twice in the Sunday game? Well, they had 0 walks, so that makes it difficult. That's right, 0 walks. They were so aggressive. Robbie Ray has not pitched well this year. They made him look like the Robbie Ray of a year ago. They just really bailed him out. I don't know what was going on, but there was just no patience at all in this game. They had 0 walks. You're going to lose more often than not. That means you're swinging at everything. They managed all the 5 hits. That should be good for about a run. Jimenez had your only extra base hit in this one. You know, Savale was not bad. And listen, he's got 4 runs, all earned. One can make a strong case, though. It's like, okay, the home run to Ty France is the home run to Ty France. But that one inning, it's the way it went down with the Miller situation, not running back to first, then it's the error on Savale, and then Miller drops what should have been a catchable ball. Like, it's ugly. And, you know, for me, Savale pitched well. Like, he's going to be one of the 3 stars. I know he gave up 4 earned runs, but he's one of the 3 stars. It was a strong performance by him. 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, gave up the 2 home runs. Yale comes in for 2/3 of an innings, and then Shaw continues to get those appearances up, get that big bonus money for him. You know, Austin Hedges had a stolen base as well in this one, so that's our 3 stars. Aaron Savale, again, normally 4 runs and 6 1/3. I may not in picking up the loss. Not that wins and losses matter for a pitcher evaluation, but he pitched really well, in my mind. It's like he should have been out of that inning in multiple chances. It should have been 1 run given up. Still wouldn't have mattered because Cleveland couldn't touch Robbie Ray and were just swinging. I mean, they were not. There was no patience at all in this game. God, I forgot it was Dylan Moore of all people too who hit that out. You got to finish off the guys who aren't that good. But at the same time, 206 average with 741 OPS, so I should shut my mouth on Dylan Moore. 5 hits by Cleveland. So your 3 stars, Jimenez had an extra base hit, and Austin Hedges stole a base. So there you go. There's your 3 stars. Let's move to the win. This was a game, after going through everything I went through Friday night, I didn't stick around for the whole one. I just saw this offense not doing anything early on, and I kind of was like, I'm not staying up late. Of course. Now it's the other way around. So in this one, Cleveland, if you missed it, came back in the 8th, like me if you missed it, with 3 runs. They were losing 3-1 entering that inning. Zach Plesac was awesome. He gave up 3 earned runs, but he only gave up 3 base runners in the whole game. 3 hits, all 3 solo shots. I mean, it's unfortunate to that degree, but 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, 3 hits, no walks. I'll take that. He's going to be one of the stars for that. 99 comes in for that 1 inning, gets the strikeout. Class A comes in for 1 inning, picks up save number 30. They get to Munoz, who gets a blown save in this one. Who, again, I mean, he's been Class A light all year, so it was interesting to see that occur. To get into it, let's just discuss. Well, let's do our typical. Let's talk about reach base twice. 2 hits by Quan, 2 hits for Jose. He only had 2 walks in this one, and then let's see. I think that's it, correct? Unless there was an intentional walk or hit batter I missed. Yeah, that's it. Other than that, I mean, they only managed 6 total hits. Box score bingo. They had 8 opportunities. 8 opportunities. That should lead to less than 3 runs. They got 4. So this is the game where they had all of the luck after the previous series where they had none. The other side of things, I'm sorry, there's also the error. So they had 9 opportunities. So that should be about 3 runs. The other side of things, 3 hits, no walks. So that should be good for about 1 run. They got 3 because all 3 hits were home runs. Let's talk about the win here. Let's talk about the 8th inning. So Stephen Kwan starts out with a walk. Ahmed does not ground into double play. He gets a single. Jose gets the double, scores the first run. Naylor grounds out. Jimenez gets in that ground out, scores a run. After that, Jimenez gets the sac fly. And again, it's 2 outs after you get your bases with, not loaded, but you have runner on second and third. They're able to get runs across, even if it's not due to productive play, even if it's outs. They had no outs with runners on second and third, down by a run, and they still ground out sac fly to take care of business and win this one. It's nice, because otherwise, guess what? It'd be a 1-game lead in the Central right now instead of a 2-game lead. We're going to talk about, like I said, Baltimore tomorrow. And Seattle's coming to town. So it's not like there's any rest for the weary. And unfortunately, if you are Cleveland, you're still getting Luis Castillo and Robbie Ray, who both were nails against Cleveland. George Kirby as well. But you're not getting Plesac and... I'm sorry. And here's the thing. Plesac, do you remember a few years ago when he had that late no-hitter against Seattle? He seems to pitch well against Seattle. We will see if that's only when he's in Seattle or what the deal of it is this week. But you're not getting McKenzie and Bieber in this series, which, hey, they dropped both of those games, so who knows? I was 0 for 3 on the weekend, by the way, if you're keeping track at home in terms of getting it. The one upside is after, in this time, a week from this time, we'll be into September. You'll all have that long weekend, and Kansas City's coming to town, where they better take care of business, because there's not a lot of breaks in this schedule. They need to take care of the Royals and start to maybe build that lead back up in the Central. I've been Jeff Ellis. This has been Locked on Guardians Podcast this week. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. Subscribe on YouTube. I answer comment on everything on YouTube. So if you wanted to ask a question, it's a great place to throw a question down. And if you specifically say this is for a mailbag, or hit me up on my Twitter at JeffMLBDraft. It's been a little bit since we did a mailbag. I need to start rebuilding the mailbag. I will save it for that. But as always, thank you all. Numbers are looking good. And we're continuing to grow, and that's thanks to the great listeners out there. And Avery, if you listen to the whole thing, I love you, buddy. We may not agree on Owen Miller, but Owen Miller and Straw, we may not agree. Everything else, I think we click on. Aaron, it's the same thing, though. I will say this. Talk about Aaron there quickly. Like, all the times we ripped on Virginia, we still can disagree. And I think this is just a life lesson, right? Like, we can disagree and still be cool to each other. Like, life doesn't have to be always about us being entirely in lockstep. So if you disagree with my statements, sure, definitely hit me up and let me know. And sometimes I get things wrong. Like I said, I mispredicted 3 games in this series if you want one very recently. But thank you all, and as I end every show, go Guardians, go.